Welcome to another episode of Safe Space, the podcast for next generation family business leaders. Today, we're joined by Véronique Sanders at her Château Haut-Bailly in South Bordeaux. Véronique, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Franco.
It is an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you here. As you know, I am a huge wine guy, a big Bordeaux guy, and when I got a chance to meet you in Lake Como and hear your story and taste your magnificent wines, I thought, what an incredible opportunity to get you on the show. So thank you so much for being here. It's a real honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. You're a man of good taste if you like Bordeaux.
Well, So I got introduced to wines in the early '90s when I was working up at Whistler's as a waiter. And the bottle of wine that got me hooked on fine wines was a 1972 Chateau Palmer.
Wow,
That
beautiful wine.
a guest that I was serving at the restaurant I was working at was generous enough to allow me to try it, and I was like, "Oh my God, I have to start drinking and collecting Bordeaux's," and that was how my passion for wine started.
Excellent.
So before we get started, can you let the audience know a little bit about you, about the family business Haut-Bailly, and then we'll get into the actual show itself.
Well, so I have the great privilege to run Haut-Bailly since 28 years now. Haut-Bailly is a classified growth in the Grave area in the appellation of Pessac-Léognan, and we are making wine at Haut-Bailly since probably 800 years. So
Wow.
that's been quite a long time. Haut-Bailly has a very rich and great history. It always belonged to strong personalities, big characters. It's really a fantastic property with a unique terroir, which is dedicated to red wine. And my family acquired it in 1955, so 70 years ago. My great-grandfather, who was Flemish and had already another vineyard in Sauternes, a sweet white wine, and he was also a wine merchant in Belgium. But he acquired it at a time where it was very difficult time after the economic crisis of the 30s and the Second World War, and everything was for sale for basically the price the owner had to put in to continue the business. So it was a difficult time, but he made a great job during until 78, and then my grandfather jumped in. And for many different reasons, in 98, our family had to sell the estate, but for very good opportunity, because we had an American banker who jumped in, Robert Wilmers, who bought this property for himself as a family project. And that's the moment I jumped in, because you didn't have many women at that time in the wine field. And Bob had the audace to trust me. And he let me run this estate, learn another 2 years with my grandfather, and then I had the full key of the estate, and I've been doing that since 98.
So, um, so when we met in Como, and we were tasting your magnificent wines, what really struck me was your emotional attachment to the land, right? And your passion for it. So can you speak to that as to how that drives you in what you do and where you're taking the chateau today?
It's actually I'm very happy that you felt that, because I think the decision I made to join Haut-Bailly was really a decision of the heart, because I am in love with this piece of land, with the smells. When I come, when I'm here, I feel I smell everything: the earth, the rain, the flower of the grape in the spring, the smell during the harvest. But I also love the lights. I love the landscape. I am very deeply attached to this land, and I think it's all you need to make a great wine, because you can't make a great wine just technically. You need to love each single vine, to love what you do every single day, and to be able also to transmit this passion first to your team, and then of course to the wine lovers who come and visit you or who drink your wine around the world. So a great wine is about emotion. Lots of people can make great wines around the world, and lots of estates are making great wines, good wines, I mean. But to make a great wine has a dimension made of emotion, and that's always what makes a difference between a good wine and a great wine.
I'm so glad you bring that up between good to great, one of the big challenges that family businesses face is the burden versus the responsibility. The next generation feels the burden to take over because they don't want to disappoint, the ancestors before versus the responsibility. And I believe that the responsibility is really based on a passion and a love for the business and what you do and what that business does. And that allows the business to become great. Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, I think definitely when you run a property like Haut-Bailly, there is a sense of duty. We have more duties than rights, you know,
Mm.
and you have to accept those duties and you have to enjoy them because otherwise life is boring. But if you do things with passion, and that's what my father taught me. He never wanted me to do a job that I didn't like. He told me just choose something where you can be passionate about, because then you will never have the feeling to work any single day of your life. And this is
Yes.
very true. But then we also know that we are just here for a certain number of years, and we are like a berger, how do you say that? Somebody who is keeping the sheep, we are keeping this land and trying to transmit it in a even better way than the way we received it, for the next generation. It's extremely important, and every gesture, every decision we make in our everyday process is made for the next generation, because we are working in the long run. So if you decide to pull out some vines, you do it for the next generation because you won't benefit from what you do now. So it's a very long time frame we are working with at Obey, and there's lots of responsibilities. The first is to be able to do the best wine as possible and to keep the land in the best condition as possible. And as you know, we have many challenges currently with climate change and lots of things. So we are always thinking ahead to to imagine what could be the best practices. And every generation creates, invents, work with the tool of its time, you know. So the way my great grandfather was working with the way we are working today, completely different. And I'm sure the next generation will work even better than us. So that's very important to think that way.
I think that that is a beautiful way to put it, Veronique, because, listeners, it's important that you pay attention to this piece because you are not the owner of the business or the land. You are a custodian of it, right? It is not yours.
Exactly.
It is, it is a duty to protect it, to look after it, and most importantly, to leave it in a better place than it was handed to you. So it's important to look at the businesses that you are a steward of. You're not an owner, even though legally you may be an owner, right? But the mentality is I am a steward and it's not mine, so I'm not entitled to it. I'm actually contributing to the present for the future.
It's exactly that.
So what was it like, for you as a woman to step into typically a male dominated business? Let's talk about that because that must have been an interesting experience for you and a bit challenging, I'm sure as well.
Well, I always thought it was a, a privilege and an advantage to be a woman in a men's world. Um, Maybe at the beginning nobody would ask my opinion, or I was not allowed to talk. But then I could learn because I was listening. And I mean, when you listen, you learn fast. And I was always seated next to the most important people. So I was very lucky because I had this incredible advantage to be surrounded by extremely talented men. And they really helped me to grow. Uh, so um, so I that's why I always thought it was how you say that uh, I was blessed in a way, but it was very audacious from Bob Wilmers to have trusted me for two reasons. First, because I was a woman and there was no woman at that time. But the second reason was also because I was relatively young and you didn't have any young people because our business, our family business were transmitted when the father would pass away. So if I give you an example, my grandfather started to run Haut-Bailly when he was 60 years old, and he
60.
did it 60, and he did it
God.
wonderfully well during 20 years. But you had to wait for the parents to pass over to start being involved. And when I started, I was not even 30 years old. So that's also the great privilege that I had, is that everything we developed, everything we worked on since almost 30 years, I can enjoy now the results of it, you know. My grandfather stayed for 20 years with immense pleasure, but he was not able really to see the results of his work, which I am. So that's
So how are you preparing the next generation? So what are you doing there to develop them to one day take over?
well. I think what's very important is that you have the expertise and the that you can not only the expertise, but you have to understand technically how it works in terms of agriculture, in terms of enology in the cellar. So there is a lot today. The team we have a level of expertise which is just incredible. That's the first thing. But where I'm very demanding on the next generation is about the passion. You need to love this place because you can make, again, a good wine, but we are all talking about details, precision, and a lot of care. And this can only be if you are 7 days a week, 24 hours ready to get involved in every single dimension of the work, and if you dearly love the place. I'm extremely lucky to be surrounded by a team of people who love Haut-Bailly as much as I do. And I was just having a conversation before I jumped in this conversation with you, with somebody who told me that's incredible. When you arrive at Haut-Bailly, you feel that every single person loves the place, is taking care of you because it's part of it. And it's a fantastic reward to hear that because it's a way we like to work.
Do you believe passion can be taught, or is it something that we automatically have?
Um, that's a good question. I never thought of that. I think passion can be communicative. So it can be taught by you take people with you, you know. If they see you acting, working, if they share your values, in the end, they will also be part of it. I don't think you can uh, taught passion in an academic way, but I think you can live the passion and
Mm.
feel the passion.
So you can model it. You can
You
be
can
it
model
as
it.
an example.
Yes, yes. And what I love the most is that everybody develop its own passion. We all love Haut-Bailly for different reasons you know. Probably in my case, it's because it came from my family and it's a transmission. And I always had amazing relationship with my grandfather, and I love to walk in his boots or in his path. But for other people, it's for other reasons. It doesn't matter what, but what's important is that we all feel the same way for this beautiful estate.
So, and the one thing about passion is it's very contagious. You know, people that are passionate about something draw others into that. It's amazing how that works, right? So I agree passion can't be taught. Passion can be modeled and developed by example.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too.
So what are the challenges that you see in the wine world today? Like, what are some of the challenges that you see globally, and how is Haut-Bailly overcoming those?
Well, we have many challenges at the moment, as actually probably many companies from different fields. There is a slowdown in economy due to lots of inflation in the post-COVID era. There is lots of uncertainty around the world with new politics and new dynamics, um, which makes it a bit complicated. But it's also a very interesting period because then it pushes you to be more creative. And again, the team is doing a fantastic job at the moment, trying to find solutions, trying to be innovative. And I guess we will come out stronger from that challenging time just because we have never been so creative than at this moment. So it is not easy, but we try harder. And that's where we benefit from the passion of everyone because everybody's working double, uh, spending even more time here, and we'll get there, you know.
So, there are studies that show that the younger generation, the 20 and 30-year-olds are not drinking as much wine as the older generations of 40, 50, and 60-year-olds. How are you addressing that?
Um, I'm a little bit skeptical about all these studies because, first of all, when we were young ourselves, we were also not drinking wine. We were
That's
drinking
true.
other things.
That's true.
we started we started to drink wine when we had a job or first apartment, and we
That's
were
true.
just making a little bit of money. So that's my first thought.
That's a good
Then the
point.
second the
That's a good
second thing
point.
is that if you go to great universities around the world, you have uh, some analytical clubs everywhere. At my generation, it didn't exist.
That's
So
true.
lots of young people drink wine. And when I just simply discuss with my nephews, they all tell me, we drink wine everywhere, in bars, at friends, everywhere. So I'm a little bit confused with that. What
Mm,
is true is that our cultural model of consuming wine has changed.
mm,
Uh, I grew up in a family where every Sunday was a Sunday lunch with the grandparents around the table, and we were having wines, and we were supposed to taste the wine, and comment on the wine. I'm not sure the Sunday lunch is still something which is part of the family culture. So we need to reinvent new ways of consuming wine. I think the fact that in most of the big cities, 50% of people got divorced changed the family structure. So there are lots of changes, but it's part of the life of humanity. It has always been like that. And we are consuming wine since 2000 years and in many different ways around, through the time, you know. So I'm I'm confident that wine is part of civilization. That we should never forget that it's a fantastic um, diplomatic, love tool, uh, even business. I mean, you can't imagine how many great stories I heard about people with a glass of wine, how they changed their life, uh, getting married, succeeding in a discussion of a business, or even after the war, making peace, as
Mm.
they did, for example, in Austria. Um, Wine should get the Nobel Prize, you know, because it's you can use it for so many great things, and yeah,
Well, wine is a great connector, you know, it just brings people together and it brings down barriers, right? It creates a common ground, it creates a common passion. You know, we're talking about the youth, and you know, my son is in university in the UK, and you know, he drinks wine. You know, like you know, they go to the pub and have beer, but at home he's got his balls of wine that they get together with friends and they drink wine. So I 100% agree with you regarding those studies. And
yeah,
and wine is just such a great way to unify people. It's a beautiful thing. So I
yeah,
like your idea that it should get the Nobel Prize. I think we should put it up. We should create a committee for that.
yeah. And I just read an article yesterday about research which has been made in France showing that the current young generation is drinking even more wine than the previous one.
Wow.
So yeah,
Good for
so
business.
should be good.
Good.
Yeah,
So Veronique, we're coming to the top of the show as I knew we would. I knew time would fly by. So I always ask my guests the same question. And the question is, what's one piece of advice you can offer the current generation or the next generation of the audience that's listening? What would you say to them?
so I would say to the current generation, stay curious, stay
Mm,
demanding, stay true to what gives you meaning. The world is moving quickly, you know, and it accelerates, but it's essential to preserve a sense of time, a sense of authenticity, of craftsmanship, of real things, you know. We all get surrounded by everything which is digital, uh, artificial, but just, you know, sit with the family, with good friends, share a good glass of wine, and have a normal conversation. This is basics, but wow, this is so important. So that's what I would say to the current generation, uh, and to the next generation, I would say maybe dare,
mm,
dare to step outside the lines. Uh, we need the world of wine needs fresh eyes, fresh spirits, and responsible hearts. I think they will be the stewards of our heritage, and feed it with your energy, your ideas, and your sense of beauty. And I remember my grandfather, he used to tell me, he wouldn't say what I did is the best ever. He used to say, you'll do even better. And that's what I want to
mm.
say to the next generation. They'll do better, you know. So get our heritage and make it progress.
Veronique, thank you so much. What a real honor and privilege to have you on the show. Love your words, love your passion that comes through again. So, if people wanted to learn more about you at Haut-Bailly, where do they find you? Where do they learn more about you?
Well, first of all, I'd be happy to receive anybody who wants to visit us at Obey, and they can find our wines all around the world in the best wine shops or even online. So just search Château Haut-Bailly, and you'll find our wines a bit everywhere. And you can also write to us. We'll answer you with great pleasure.
Veronique, thank you so much. So, audience, as you know, our guests volunteer their time, they volunteer their energy, they volunteer their passion and their wisdom. So, um, this show is for you because we recognize that being part of a next generation family business sometimes can be a lonely place. So, this is a community for you to listen to your peers, to listen to experts, to follow their passion, but most importantly, share. Share the podcast with your friends, with your colleagues, just to let them know that they too are not alone. Veronique, thank you so much for being on the show. An absolute privilege.
Thank you, Franco. It was a privilege for me too. Thank you. A pleasure.